Nedlac is convening their 30th annual summit. Speaking now is the Employment and Labour Minister in Nomakhosazana Meth. Let's listen in.
Is needed to reinforce unity for collective progress. It remains the foundation of our social compact and our guiding light in these turbulent times. In the midst of declining employment rates and rising unemployment, social partners convened via Nedlac need to respond collaboratively to safeguard economic stability and shield workers and communities from being overlooked amid shocks. Solidarity is about workers uniting through collective bargaining and dispute resolution mechanisms. It is about protecting vulnerable workers, including those in non-standard and informal employment, ensuring no one is left behind. It's also about social cohesion, recognizing that the prosperity of one sector must not come at the exclusion of another. At Nedlac, solidarity is lived through the tireless work of social partners who engage, negotiate, and compromise for the common good. Equality must extend beyond intent to measurable results. In April 2025, the department published the Employment Equity Regulations, prescribing 5-year equity plans with sector-specific numerical targets, including a 3% disability employment goal. These bind designated employers from the 1st of September 2025. These measures are not without debate. The Democratic Alliance and a few others have launched a legal challenge citing potential constitutional concerns and an impact on investment, yet the policy is a bold step toward dismantling the enduring racial and gender disparity that remain entrenched. The gender gap in graduate unemployment rates, which is 15% for women versus the 8.9% for men, is evident, and it illuminates the urgency of institutional and cultural transformation. We must ensure these frameworks are implemented with both rigor and empathy, recognizing that equality is a cultural shift as much as it is a legal mandate. Sustainability is about building a future that can endure. Our future depends on the sustainability of our labor market that operates within a sustainable environment. South Africa advocates for a green transition that is equitable, balancing our economic needs with our environmental responsibilities. This transition must safeguard jobs while also creating new opportunities in green industries, renewable energy, and climate-resilient sectors. Sustainability also means building resilient labor institutions that can adapt to technological change, global shocks, and demographic shifts. As job losses occur in traditional sectors, investment in renewable energy, the waste economy, and the circular economy offers pathways for new employment. The justice of this transition hinges on upskilling, redeployment, and social protections for those affected. Globally, bridging skills gaps is key. Reports such as those of the World Economic Forum, which is Future of Jobs report of 2025, emphasize that integrating green skills training into current programs could unlock jobs and accelerate project rollouts, particularly for women and youth. Our task is to ensure that no worker, no community is left behind as we move towards a low-carbon inclusive economy. The ministerial declaration adopted at the G20 Employment Ministers meeting that was held in Georgia recently, and other G20 ministerial declarations underscore global commitments that align closely with the values and priorities we uphold at Nedlac. They emphasize advancing commitment to building more prosperous economies by fostering a sustainable and a resilient workforce, recognizing the urgent need to address inequalities and promote fairness in the world of work, and ensuring decent work. This includes promoting gender equality, protecting vulnerable workers, especially in informal and platform economy, and fostering a just transition towards a sustainable green economy. In conclusion, Madam Chair, distinguished guests, advancing solidarity, equality, and sustainability is a blueprint for our nation's prosperity, that of the world, and that of the world globally. Let this 30th annual summit be more than symbolic. Let us leave this summit with renewed commitment to embed a just transition that protects current jobs while fostering new ones in emerging green industries, that ensure employment equity is robustly enforced across all sectors, especially in leadership pipelines. That delivers training and development in underserved areas to empower youth and reduce disparities. That modernizes labor systems to keep pace with automation, artificial intelligence, and digital innovation. Over the past year, Nedlac has continued to be the place where difficult but necessary conversations are held. Their 2024-2025 annual report reflects achievements but also challenges we must confront together. I commend Nedlac for its consistent, excellent performance towards addressing the very pressing socio-economic challenges facing our country and for achieving, for consecutive years, a clean audit outcome. Together, through Nedlac, we can transform dialogue into decisive action for a South Africa that belongs to all. I thank you, Madam Program Director. On that.
All right, so there you have it, the Labour and Employment Minister in Nomakhosazana Meth speaking at Nedlac's 30th Annual Summit. It's essentially a gathering that brings together all manner of stakeholders within the labour and labour market and in government to try and find solutions to some of the most pressing issues. And those are well documented in a country like ours. We have stagnant economic growth, deepening unemployment, stubborn poverty and inequality. The minister speaking about bridging the skills gap as being key to finally turning the tide on these issues. She's also spoken about moving from dialogue to transformative behavior. And I wonder to what extent that will actually happen, given the long-standing criticism that we often speak about these issues and aren't necessarily the type to finally act on them. At some stage, we're expecting the Deputy President of the country, Paul Mashatile, to also give the keynote address at that particular gathering. In fact, my understanding is that he'll be speaking virtually in just a moment, and he's currently being introduced by the minister. I suppose it's worth just listening into that for you in the lead up to the Deputy President's address. Let's try and listen in.
December 2017 and acting ANC Secretary General from January 2022. Formerly an anti-apartheid activist in the United Democratic Front, Honorable His Excellency Mr. Paul Mashatile was a member of the President Jacob Zuma's first cabinet, serving as Deputy and Minister of Arts and Culture between 2010 and 2014. Before that, he was briefly Premier of Gauteng Province from 2008 to 2009. Yes, history has no blank pages. Between 1996 and 2008, and later between 2014 and 2018, he held several ministerial portfolios in Gauteng provincial government. Please welcome Shipokosha Paulus Mashatile, South Africa's Deputy President and a key political stalwart.
Honorable Nomakhosazana Meth, Cabinet Ministers, MECs and Deputy Ministers present, Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Labour, Honorable Boyce Makosonke Maneli, Members of Parliament present, Acting Director General and Senior Government officials, international organizations representatives, Executive Director of Nedlac, Mr. Makuku Mampuru, leaders of organized business and labor, civil society, members of the media, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. As we mark the 30th Annual Nedlac Summit, it is worthwhile to evaluate our progress in relation to the objectives that motivated the establishment of this significant forum. The National Economic Development and Labour Council, Nedlac, was established as a platform through which government, labour, business and community organizations engage in social dialogue and seek to cooperate through problem solving and negotiation on economic, labour, development issues and other related challenges facing our country. We are therefore gathered here to celebrate 30 years of social dialogue and planning for the future. We must recognize Nedlac's significant contribution to alleviating unemployment, economic inequity, and poverty through inclusive economic development over the last 3 decades. Over the years, Nedlac has played a central role in shaping policies that are designed to improve the socio-economic advancement of South Africa. However, we must acknowledge that together as social partners in this council, we still have a huge responsibility to address persistent challenges of poverty, unemployment, and inequality. We have reached a milestone that necessitates for profound thought, self-correction, and responding to the call for all of us to pull together to strengthen areas where we have not done well. Nedlac's active role in influencing policies related to labour relations, training, skills development, social security, and various socio-economic matters over the past 30 years is commendable. This involvement has fostered collaboration among South Africans, advancing democracy, strengthening social dialogue, and addressing economic and labour market challenges. When addressing the 4th annual summit, former President Nelson Mandela made the following observation: foremost amongst our challenges is job creation. Our democratic gains will remain fragile and our freedom shallow if they do not bring real improvements in the lives of our people, especially the poor. All of us do recognize that job creation is critical to the alleviation of poverty. It is concerning that 26 years later, South Africa is still grappling with the same challenges as stated by former President Mandela. The latest quarterly labour force survey for the 2nd quarter of 2025 reveals persistent labour market disparities, with a national unemployment rate of 33.2%, with women bearing a heavier burden at 35.9% compared to 31.0% for men, a 4.9 percentage point difference. This situation will further be aggravated by the implementation of 30% tariffs on South African exports to the United States. The increase in US tariffs will continue to threaten the already unstable jobs in agriculture, automotive industry, manufacturing, and the mining sector, with the potential of wiping out thousands of jobs and livelihoods. I am aware that this forum does not directly create jobs, but rather promotes an enabling environment through measures such as sector-specific interventions, SME support, skills development programs, and employment initiative. That is why Nedlac must continue to intensify its effort to provide oversight for job summit agreements, support small and medium-sized businesses, and youth entrepreneurs, develop sector-specific interventions, and ensure labor market policies that promote inclusive growth and decent work. As social partners, we have the ability to alter the path and trajectory of our nations by uniting in pursuit of a collective objective, motivated by our shared values. As a nation, we must draw lessons from one another as we work to rejuvenate our economy, decrease unemployment, and foster inclusive growth. Therefore, the National Dialogue, a people-centered initiative, is crucial for addressing the frustrations and needs of ordinary South Africans. It aims to unite South Africans, heal past wounds, and chart a common path forward. It is commendable that the first convention of the National Dialogue, held from the 15th to the 16th of August 2025 at the University of South Africa, was a successful event. The event brought together representatives from government, business, civil society, and various sectors to establish a foundation for a comprehensive national dialogue that will help take South Africa forward. In the next few months, we must ensure that as a people, we emerge with a compact and consensus on a South Africa we want beyond 2030, likely aligning our vision with the Freedom Charter, which called for us to establish a South Africa that belongs to everyone, black and white. The historical adoption of the Freedom Charter, an initiative led by Professor Z.K. Matthews, and current national dialogues exemplify consistency in a unified effort to galvanize individuals and organizations towards shared national objectives. The national dialogue is rooted in the principles and praxis of the Freedom Charter, a legacy that defines the country's aspirations for an improved future. As we consider the history of our past and what we seek to achieve as a nation, this year's theme, Advancing Solidarity, Equality and Sustainability in the Economy and Labor Market, is both significant and relevant. What we need to be honest about is that the journey towards true solidarity, equality and sustainability is still lengthy and challenging but achievable. This journey demands steadfast dedication, courageous action, and a shared vision that goes beyond personal interests. In this sense, solidarity means recognizing that our country's progress depends on our capacity to support the most vulnerable members of our society. It unites society as a moral requirement, bridging gaps and building a fair future in a world of escalating inequities and dividing forces. Moreover, solidarity is crucial for collective action in South Africa, enabling conflict resolution and sustainable policy development. Solidarity guarantees the hearing and respect of diverse voices from government, labor, business, and the community, thereby promoting consensus building and cooperation. Our duty is to nurture and amplify the spirit of solidarity in every decision we make, every policy we enact, and every interaction we engage in. I must highlight that Nedlac has been instrumental in promoting worker solidarity through collective bargaining, dispute resolution, and extending protection to non-standard employees. Ladies and gentlemen, as we continue to embark on this journey towards planning for the future, we must all play a collective role towards advancing inclusive economic growth and social equity. On 10th May 2024, the Minister in the Presidency responsible for planning, monitoring and evaluation launched the Nedlac 30-year project. The aim of this project is to reflect on the 30 years of South Africa's democracy, analyze achievements and lessons learned from 1994 to 2024, and come up with firm proposals to plan for the future. We are optimistic that the Nedlac 30-year project will, amongst other things, come up with proposals that will assist government to fast-track programs that are aimed at improving energy efficiency, infrastructure development, local government reforms, logistics, public transport, and digital transformation. In this regard, the Nedlac 30-year project should assist government to accelerate the implementation of structural reforms aimed at achieving faster, more inclusive, and sustainable economic growth as envisaged by Operation Vulindlela. We must concentrate our efforts to promoting equality. This should entail the dismantling of systemic barriers that sustain discrimination and exclusion, thereby establishing equal opportunities for all. The founding declaration of Nedlac emphasizes growth, equity, and participation. As social partners, it is our responsibility to ensure greater social equity in the workplace and communities, address large-scale inequalities, and provide basic needs for all people, thereby promoting growth and participation. Through Nedlac's dialogue and engagements, we have advanced workplace transformation and improved employment equity as mandated by the Employment Equity Act. The Nedlac social dialogue has resulted in amendments to labor law and initiatives such as the Presidential Employment Stimulus, all of which focus on promoting affirmative action to foster a more equitable workforce. With the revised Employment Equity Act, we are determined to address the slow pace of transformation, particularly in relation to Black Africans and their representation at senior levels in workplaces. We are pleased that in accordance with rules and sectoral objectives released by the Department of Labour and Employment and Labour, all this with 50 or more workers have submitted their 2025 employment equity. Needed transformation in our society with inclusion for equal opportunities for all South Africans, regardless of race, gender, or color, and should be taken seriously, as it does not guarantee job loss for any worker. We also understand that equality will require us to accelerate our efforts in skills development, youth empowerment, and bridging the gap between rural and urban economies. As such, on the 29th of August, we launched the Jet Skills Desk and the National Jet Skills Advisory Forum, which are pillars of South Africa's just energy transition skills portfolio. The launch is implemented due to our acknowledgement of the need for a comprehensive plan that encompasses educational reform and skilled labor. We seek to ensure that all South Africans, particularly those living in coal-dependent and underprivileged regions, can engage in the green economy. Thus, we refer to sustainability as a notion of fulfilling the demands of the current generation without jeopardizing the capacity of future generations to satisfy their own needs, which includes a harmonious combination of environmental, social, and economic factors. The Just Transition Framework provides us with an opportunity to shift to a low-carbon economy while protecting jobs and communities for the future. Business, labor, and government must continue to work together to balance energy security, industrial competitiveness, and climate justice. In summary, the theme of solidarity, equality, sustainability, which is also the G20 theme, aligns with South Africa's foreign policy priorities and the African philosophy of Ubuntu, I am because you are. It provides us with a unique opportunity to confront the critical issue as a collective in the African continent. In our pursuit of global sustainable development, we will take into account the necessity of maintaining a balance between economic growth, social inclusion, and environmental stewardship to address the current requirements of the world and future generations. Through the G20 engagement groups, we are strengthening ties and expanding dialogue with civil society and non-governmental organizations. This is because we believe that collaboration across the global community is critical as we work to address our most serious issues, such as poverty, unemployment, and inequality. Allow me to conclude by highlighting that through various initiatives, Nedlac has played a central role in advancing social dialogue that underpins democratic governance. The work done here has contributed to stability in the labor market, including policy making, and shaped reforms such as retirement savings, employment equity, and energy transition policies. As we look ahead, Nedlac's role in driving consensus will be critical to navigating global uncertainties and domestic economic challenges. I call upon all constituencies, business, labor, community, and government to deepen the spirit of partnership. Let us reaffirm our commitment to shared growth, inclusive transformation, and sustainable development. As we mark the 30th annual summit, let us celebrate the progress we have made, but also recommit to the hard work that lies ahead. Together, through solidarity, equality, and sustainability, we can build an economy and labor market that reflect the aspirations of all South Africans. Program Director, with those few words, I thank you.
All right, so that's the Deputy President Paul Mashatile delivering the keynote address at Nedlac's 30th annual summit, which is being held in Sandton. It was a virtual address with its own fair share of technical gremlins, I suppose. But I'm afraid there's nothing new that the Deputy President has had to say at the risk of being criticized for that take. But he's spoken about and in fact has conceded that the problems that South Africa is facing today are no different to the times when former President Nelson Mandela was the president, and it has to do with a lack of jobs. It has to do with staggering poverty levels and, of course, an economy that just won't grow in the way that it needs to if we are to pull people out of poverty. The Deputy President also speaking about how job creation is amongst their main challenges, and he's obviously given Nedlac a challenge to try and turn those dialogues that are going to be taking place into meaningful action. Once again, not sure whether or not that address is really going to shift the dial in any way, but we'll certainly keep watching that summit for you as it continues in Sandton.